How to build an unbreakable mindset. What's up, guys? Marty here with Brent. And Brent, just to go ahead and throw you a curveball, if you'll notice over the different rounds, he's changed his environment so many times. I don't know where he wants to set up, but he's been doing it this whole time to see if you were paying attention, to see where your mind's at. And
that's what it is. Absolutely.
That is the subject for today, and this is the goal of today. We're going to find out why the sport that you used to dominate in is more relevant to your mindset today than ever. And like, it might be one of those things where maybe I poked you in the ribs just then whenever I said used to dominate in, but everybody sort of eventually has to have that moment where they realize that, like the bigger, younger, badder dogs have come in, and you've sort of spent your time in there. But how does it become relevant to your mental health and your mindset as much as anything else, in order to like stay in there and really play the proverbial game, so to speak? So starting off here, like, we just want to, we were having this great conversation right before we hit record, and it was, this is really the epitome of why you should reawaken your competitive spirit in a healthy way, because there's definitely a healthy way to be competitive, and there is a non-healthy way to be competitive. So Brent was telling me this story earlier, and it was about procrastination. Has anybody ever procrastinated before besides me? Like, I probably did it 3 times today already. But like, there's good days and bad days. But anyway, Brent, go ahead and tell us the story, because he was doing something super cool.
Oh yeah,
guys,
so my lovely bride turned 50 yesterday, and I wanted to do something special. I'm a terrible gift giver. Typically clothing, things like that, when I give to her for Christmas and other celebrations, that they usually get returned. And it's the sentiment that counts. Yeah, but she returns them, and it's like, I messed up again.
It's a heartbreaker.
So
it really is.
Right, man. And I've known this woman for, gosh, we're going into our 20th year of marriage. We're going to celebrate our 20th anniversary in October. So it's not like I don't know her. And of course, we dated before that. So it's like, I feel like I should know what she wants. So, I feel bad. But so, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what special gift to give her. And, what do you give someone that turns 50? I suppose you could have a little fun, get them a cane and dentures and stuff like that. But 50 is not really old. But so instead of going the material route, I went the sentimental route. So on Facebook, I sent out private messages to over 130 people, and that we were mutual friends with. And all I wanted them to do is make a little video, 10, 15-second video saying happy birthday, and, give, maybe razz her a little bit, just to have a little fun with it. And so I sent those out about 2.5 weeks ago. And by the end of that, I think it's actually 3 weeks ago. So on a Friday, I had about 30 videos out of the 120. So, I told Marty before we got on, I'm hitting about 250, which isn't bad in baseball, but it's not good when you have 2 weeks left to your wife's 50th birthday and you want to do something special like this. So I got a little anxious, a little anxiety. So I, fired off another message, and out of those, I got about 25% of those back. And I'm like, okay, we're now a week before her birthday. So now I have 50% pretty much of the 130, and I wanted at least 80%. Fired off another message, got another 25%. Now we're winding down. Like, we're Monday. We're drop dead day is Tuesday. Actually, it was Monday night, so I fired off an email or a message on Monday morning to all the rest of the people that hadn't sent videos in, and all of a sudden, oh, I'm so sorry. Thanks for reminding me. And bang, 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 bang. So I ended up getting, out of the 120 or 130 people that I messaged, I got nearly 100 back. But half of those came on Monday. So I'm like, what the heck? I was like, you know, and it just is procrastination. They saw the message, they responded to me, and they just didn't make it a priority. But their priority isn't my priority. So, or my priority isn't theirs. So, I can see how that procrastination, but that leads us right into this mindset round. I mean, that is human psyche, is to keep putting stuff off. So I'm gonna tee it up for you and let you fly there, Marty.
There's so many things I have to say about that, because like,
oh man,
it came.
Well, we got to keep this under an hour.
I know, like same here. I got a date myself, but what's going on here is Brent got to a part where he's like, he realized that other people's priorities and his priorities are not the same thing. He was only in control of himself. So it was like, it wasn't wrong that his mental mindset asked the questions like, could it be other people's fault? But immediately, right whenever he did that, it was like, nope, take ownership of what I can control. So that's a big one.
Yep.
But just getting in motion and having this thing to where there's a deadline set. The bigger overarching theme of this is like, whenever there's a deadline that has to be met, people sort of equate that, you know, like quarters in a football game or any other sort of game where it's timed, is like that particular rule, that particular parameter of the game is there. So we can all like, all right, we're going to try hard for 60 football minutes, go. And then it's like,
yeah.
And then we get the rest of the week to whatever. And I say 60 football minutes because it stops and starts and et cetera, blah, blah.
Right. That could be a 3-minute martial arts round, or a 5-minute championship mixed martial arts round, or a boxing round, 5-minute boxing round.
Yep.
All the same.
So, I mean, you got to know how long that you have, et cetera, or else you'll just be a human being and procrastinate. It doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you a procrastinator.
Right.
It's sort of like
anything
else. It's like I am a procrastinator. That's your first step to recovery.
Right. First step is admitting it.
So today what we really wanted to do is, like I said, we're going to find out what it is about your game specifically that lights you up and puts you on fire and gets you in the right mindset to take the actions that you need to take. So we're looking at the 4 essential elements of any game and just sort of bringing this to the forefront. And if you remember in round 1, we talked about the 3 mini games of life. And those essentially, like, if we're talking the game of life, those are the win conditions for the game of life: health, wealth, and relationships. Those are the 3 games you're always constantly playing. They're always in this never ending balance and juggling act that you're trying to do between all 3 of those things. So, but you know, baseball, it has like, you hit the ball so you could advance the base path and score runs. Football is take this ball over their goal line and score, right? And do these different things. So there's clearly defined ways to win. And we talked at length about that in round 1, like we said. But Brent, is there anything you want to add on to that right now?
No, it's really good, man. There has to be defined parameters. Everyone listening to this was a former athlete. And we had quarters. Your quarter was 15 minutes. Basketball, you know, now in college and high school, I believe there's just halves for basketball, but I mean, it's the same thing. You have a certain amount of time to score more points than the other team, period. That's the game. There is, when all is said and done, no one's going to remember how many tackles someone had, how many points someone scored, how many power shots someone had in boxing. They're going to remember who won or who lost. And we want to get closer to the win than to the loss. And there's a time frame for that, or there's a deadline for that. And our deadline is when they put us 6 feet under. I mean, that's our deadline. No one gets out of this place alive. So we have to do our best to make that time count.
So, much like you wouldn't go out onto the football field on game day and be like, how do we score?
Right.
Right. You wouldn't just wait till then to be talking about it. And like, there's clearly defined win conditions in place. You have to know how to win the game. And that's the problem that most people have, is they have no idea how to win their own personal game. So we could talk about this for a while and chew it up, spit it out, et cetera, but we already did that on round one.
Right. Round one was let's get a plan together. So
right.
If you don't have your plan, you're listening. If you don't have your plan right now, get that together, man.
Yep.
There's nothing more than you can do until you see where you're headed. You're not going to get in your, like you just said about the football, but you're not going to get in your car and say, we're just going to start driving around wherever we end up. We're good. No, you usually have a destination. I'm going to Atlanta, and I usually want to find the most direct route there. There's my destination. This is where my starting point is. How you get there is based on that plan. If I'm going to take a freeway, if I'm going to take, a back roads, at least you have your plan.
Yep. So moving on into the next one, we've touched on this a little bit whenever we start dealing with time specifically, but rules and parameters and why those are actually awesome for you to apply to whatever it is you're doing. And it might be a little counterintuitive to perhaps at times make things intentionally just a little bit more challenging, and at times making them just intentionally a little bit easier, and adjusting and modifying based on what it is that you're actually trying to do here. So I can think of 3 reasons why you might want to do that, just to spit them out and fire them out right quick. You might modify something for achievement. You're literally trying to get a trophy, a new belt, a new whatever it is. Like, here's your trophy, right? And then attributes. You might be looking to add to your specific skill set with both your attributes and your abilities. So achievement, attributes, and abilities are 3 reasons why you might want to do this. So Brent, what do you have to say on this, and as far as like what people can do to get ahead by manipulating the rules and parameters in their own life?
Well, first you got to know what those rules and parameters are. I think there's a disconnect about what rules are there for. When you hear the word rules and parameters, you think of that as a negative. I think just human nature says that's negative. But
exactly,
if there's not rules or parameters for us to fit into, it's just chaos. It'd be complete chaos. So, and this you can put this in terms of our first responders, our police force, our fire crews, even our government. I mean, our Constitution, those are rules. They really are. They're rules of what we should and shouldn't do in the United States of America. Now you take these rules and they don't apply in Russia or China or South Africa or, any places like that. They have a different set of rules. But, in my humble opinion, the rules and parameters that we have as United States citizens or just human beings, I take my rules and my parameters from the Bible. I mean, that's the solid rule that I follow, the 10 Commandments. Those are rules. I use those as a positive. Because if I didn't have those, if I didn't abide by those rules, I'm going to be chaotic in my personal life. I'm going to be chaotic in my wealth life, relationships, health, and I'm going to be chaotic in my health. So that's what I'd have to add to that. I mean, we need to see whatever rules you're following, or whatever rules you want to follow. they shouldn't place you in a negative situation. They should place you in a positive situation.
Exactly. And it's all about reframing that negative associated with rules and parameters and laws and things of that nature, because you can very easily build your own prison based off the rules that you've imposed on yourself. You can do that. You can overdo that, and you can train yourself to lose. You can train yourself to be frustrated. You can train yourself to be a whole host of things whenever you overdo rules at the same time. But also without a clearly defined rule set, again, I mean, like the foul lines in baseball are there for a reason. The sidelines in football, the octagon and MMA fight, the cage, like it's there to keep the chaos that's going on in that ring, you know?
Right.
But
even in the chaos in that ring, there's rules.
Exactly.
You can't hit below the belt. You
can't bite.
Kick someone in the head when they're down.
Right.
Football, you can't grab someone and throw them down by the face mask. I mean, there's rules there for a reason. It's to keep people safe and to keep the game that you're playing clean.
Right. And so for the person out there listening, because I know you're there, because I'm you, chances of right here, but it's like you might be of the mindset of rules are made to be broken. And I would agree with you, but there's a catch. And I got this catch from music theory, actually, studying music theory. There was this thing where basically, if you're looking at bars of music and there's a note right here, and then there's a note that's like 5 levels apart. Okay, let's just call them levels because I'm not going to get into they're 5 levels apart. You can't have parallel fifths, meaning they can't both be like bing, 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 and keep their same relationship, right? Like that's a rule. But you know what rock and roll is? That's rock and roll.
Really?
So that is, yes. So that's a rule that was broken to make rock and roll. The catch is you have to know what the rules are and why they're important, so you know how to break them.
Good point. Good point.
So if you can't just take something and be like, I don't know why these rules are in place, but I'm just going to start playing my way. You know, it's like you can't start there, but you can take the game and break it apart piece by piece and look at it and be like, oh, that's why this is there. Blah 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 blah. It's like, so that would be what
I assume in your example there, rock and roll just didn't come up like that. It was born out of something else. And my presumption, I don't know, you know, you're the music theory guy, but someone had to have looked at that and said, I wonder what would happen if I did this. Oh, I got a pretty cool little sound.
Right.
Turned it into rock and roll, and here we are sitting in 2020, and what do we listen to? I jump in the car. I like classic rock, but and country. So that's what it is. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. That's really interesting, Marty.
Yeah.
Wow. Just spewing your wealth of knowledge out.
Oh, thank you. I'm often overhyped, for the record. But it that just sort of, in order to be able to do that, it took a lot of musicians. Like it took going through the Beethovens and Mozarts where the parallel fifths were completely forbidden. Like never, ever, ever do this. And then somebody was like, what if we only do this? And then that's how you got like this complete, like, but we had to go through several musicians to get to a point where it's like that. And so it's a clearance level and mat time and experience and knowledge, not only from yourself, but from your predecessors, the people who were in your profession or in your thing before you were even. It's like, what conclusions did they come to? Like, what are their top 10 takeaways, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah, that's experience. Yeah, absolutely.
So you can, to wrap this section up and put a bow on it, you can use rules and you can change rules as soon as you decide to, but you can use them to propel you places faster, or you can actually use them to slow you down until you've learned a little bit more and you know what you think you know, sort of thing, if that makes any sense at all.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Moving on next, the epic calls. And we touched on this in round one as well. We talked about the why, right? Why would you want to do any of this? So thinking back to your sport, if it's a team sport, if it's a baseball or a football or a basketball or something like that, you have teammates that are counting on you. You have an obligation to show up, right? And if we're talking something like MMA, which is as individual as it gets as far as sports goes, it's like there's you and there's one other person, and you're in that cage by yourself. But you might be doing it to compete with yourself, to push yourself to the limits, and that's your why, to figure out where those are. And then other times we're talking about actually just competing for the trophy itself. I mean, people do that, but and then others of us are looking to make an impact. What can we grow? Like, how can we grow? How can we contribute to the solutions, et cetera, et cetera? So survival, cooperation, competition, and impact are the big four whys. So Brent, take it over.
Well, let's kind of scroll through those line by line. So survival, I mean, that's about having to use that one in a cage. I mean, you survive. Now, there hasn't been that many reported deaths in MMA, but that's part of the game. Yeah, part of the game. Like, but your why may be survival. Yeah. Now, given the sport that I played, football, it wasn't about survival. But Marty, I'm gonna have to put you on hold for a second, okay? My ear pods just crapped out. So give me 1 second, buddy.
Okay. While Brent's getting that set up, I'll tap dance a little bit here. So as far as survival goes, you might be in that spot if you're dealing with like your health, you're in crisis with your health. All of a sudden you find that your game of life is much more about survival than it might be cooperation or competition or impact right now. Because whenever you have one of those fundamental needs that are thrown off, right, you're not, and this is actually a little prequel into round 4, next round here, but it's about your needs, and it's about the way that you're getting your needs met. And if you're getting your survival needs met in a destructive way or a disempowering way, your calls more than likely is going to be about survival. You're like, how do I survive? How do I make it to an area of my life where I can just get up and breathe?
Take a breath.
So go ahead, Brent.
No, that was good. Now so let's touch on the second one, which was
cooperation. You were leading into this for a minute with football, because obviously, MMA maybe not so much. It's not like survival. Yes, I feel like if you are somebody who like wants to step foot inside a cage and fight, you got to be okay with the best case scenario or worst case scenario, and that is dying in the ring. So you got to be okay with that. So that one is much more about survival and proving something to yourself, because that speaking from experience, that's what you're doing. You're trying to prove something to yourself. And Brent's game, however, your footballs, baseballs, basketballs, that's about cooperation. So
cooperation. Yeah. So that was obviously a team sport. Now I would have to gather that a good portion of the listeners are or viewers of this came from a team sport where there had to be cooperation. You know, if the team isn't cohesive, if one piece is kind of the weak link, then that could lead to a very destructive atmosphere. So as far as bringing cooperation in the mix, you're going to find that a lot more in team sports. Now, having said that, I think many of the viewers are probably working at a corporate entity or some sort of job where they have other workers in the building with them or working alongside them. And depending on the situation that you're in, if it's poorly managed, the cooperation almost turns into a survival.
Right.
You know, how can I survive this job? I mean, how can I, you know, improve my performance so I don't get fired? It almost turns into a negative. Versus, like today, I went to purchase some new gym equipment, and the sales rep that I've been dealing with, very, very awesome sales guy. Instead of just leading me down the path of a contract, he showed me what they do. From the people that build the equipment to the people that greet you in the building. So that atmosphere, and he was a basketball player. He coached basketball. He played basketball. He's a team guy. And so I was excited that he was introducing me to his team, because that means that company is going to survive for a long, long time, as long as it's the financials work. But I think more than not, we as human beings, when we get into the job world, we don't have that. It's like you're competing against someone else. And not that that's a bad thing, but it can lead to a destructive atmosphere if it's not regulated.
Right.
So I'm sorry to get off on that little tangent, but
no, that was beautiful, because it's just explaining how this all works together, right? We all have to know how to win. We all have to agree upon a rule set for reasons, like a whole bunch of reasons. We have to agree upon the rule set. Now we all have to know why, like, why are we doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are we actually doing? And it's so easy. And this is another training. And I've been thinking about doing a training video on this, because I feel like it's just one of those things that people really need. I don't know if they want it all or not, but just how to communicate better, how to be able to communicate exactly what
the message is. Yeah.
And also at the same time, taking complete ownership, just like Brent did earlier in his story, over what you can control and what you can contribute to the team. Mm-hmm. Because as soon as you get of that mindset of like, how come I never get the score? It's like, right, you like that
destructive.
That belief, just like it attacks the whole team like a virus. And the communication becomes like, the emotional intelligence goes out the window, the emotional intensity starts to raise, and now we're doing something completely different. We're fighting each other, right? So it's all about your communication to keep that cooperation cohesive. That's a lot of C words.
Well, here's a prime example, and I'm sorry for, if someone is not a New England Patriots fan. I'm not necessarily a fan of theirs, but I appreciate what they've done. And don't get into the cheating and the Deflategate and all that stuff. That doesn't matter. They still won. Their team was built on a framework of cooperation. Now let's move on to a different team that was built on a kind of an unstable surface from the leadership down, and I'm going to say well, I think they're the Oakland Raiders now. There was in the last decade lots of discord from the ownership all the way down. I mean, they've gone through, I don't know how many coaches, how many quarterbacks, but it just seems like that team is imploding. Now it's getting a little bit better, but you can see it in professional sports. Like, I'm not getting paid as much as him. I should be. And it detracts from the message of what the team is all about. I have not heard that from the New England Patriots since Tom Brady's been the quarterback there. Now, again, I'm not a super fan of the New England Patriots. I could care less whether they win or lose. But when I'm looking from the outside looking in, that is a well-oiled machine from the top down. And that's why they keep winning. I just think it's a great example of cooperation as your why.
Which segues perfectly into the next one for competition. It's like the New England Patriots for the last 20 years for sure have been Super Bowl champion material multiple times. They have been able to call themselves Super Bowl champion New England Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
And that's social status. That's like, oh, it feels good to be a winner. Oh, it feels good to be a champion. And that is why competition is a great why.
Yeah.
Fuel yourself here because, hey, let's face it. Sometimes we are after a trophy. That one happens to be the Lombardi trophy. It's like
right.
Other people might be after a UFC belt, or they might be after third place in their local Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition. Right. It's like trophies are powerful. Competition itself is powerful. Competition is what that was literally the thing that took me from took me out of survival mode. It's whenever I was 100 pounds overweight, my dream was if one day I could just compete in a cage, like just once or twice even, right? Like I will have really achieved something. That was the why that literally took me out of survival mode and put me into the better ones like cooperation.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I see it, and I see it happening. It happens. It happens often, more often than we want to realize. And when you think of competition, and I hear this a lot as a fitness guy and a strength and conditioning guy, some of the people that I train are, they're of retirement age, and I'm not competitive. And I always, no matter who they are, I said, yes, you are. How did you get to, and the place that I train a lot of these folks is a very nice community. And I said, okay, so if you tell me you're not competitive, how did you retire in the position that you're in? And they scratched their head. I said, I guess you're right. I did compete against myself and my surroundings to get here. I said, of course you did. I think, and if you step foot inside a boxing gym, a mixed martial arts gym, a fitness center, there's something that drove you there. And more often than not, from a fitness perspective, it's not survival. I mean, maybe your doctor's saying, you have to work out or else you'll die, but that's very rarely the case. Cooperation, it's generally not cooperation because it's an individual goal. So it's competition. You're competing to do something better than what you already are right now. So I think more often than not, people downplay how competitive they really are for whatever reason. I think maybe they think that being competitive is bad.
Right.
And it's not. And that will segue right into what you were going to say, I believe.
Yeah, that it's just people. So everybody's afraid to lose. Like, let's just all drop the act right quick. It's like everybody is like, I'm afraid to lose and let my teammates down. Like, go ahead and say it. I'm afraid to lose and let my team. It's like,
right.
what you really mean to say is you're afraid to let you down is what
Right.
you're trying to say.
Right.
Right. So that is the very essence of competing with yourself. And so many people are afraid to lose that they're afraid to be seen trying to win. Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, how dare you even get out there and like try to win? You were trying to win. It's like that, I see this mindset a whole lot. Like people are afraid to admit that they were trying to win whenever they lose. You know those types of people. They're like, oh, I wasn't really trying to win anyway. It wasn't that big of a deal. Blah blah blah. It's like I'm just gonna go ahead and call bullshit on you for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you see competitive athletes saying that? No, when they win, they're like, yeah, I trained my tail off to be in this position. You don't train to lose. You train to win.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, whether it's your career or whether you're a mixed martial artist or whether you're a high school football player, no one that I've ever trained trains to lose, period. End of story, book ends.
And you can, by the way, just as an aside, shake that fear of losing. Instead of being afraid to lose, look forward to learning something. Like that's the fix to being afraid of losing. Like that.
Right.
So, right. So, I mean, like, and at the end of the day, something horrible happens. You win your trophy sometimes, and you're like, oh, I won the trophy. Why am I not fulfilled? Like, you're like, I got the trophy. I thought the trophy was going to make me happy. Why am I not happy? Again, that's getting a little bit more into part 4, but we'll go ahead and start this conversation with this why today. It's for impact. What you're looking for now is impact. You're looking on how you can grow and how you can contribute. And without doing those two things, you're not going to be happy. Like you might achieve, you might knock down plans and be the most productive person on the planet, but being fulfilled is a different conversation entirely.
Right.
So, what are you doing for impact? So Brent, take it away.
Oh man, I got to take it away first, huh? I think we can agree that this is kind of your why of legacy. What are you leaving? The trophy cases, yeah, those are nice. They're pretty, they're shiny. But how many, all of my trophies that I've ever won right now are up in the attic. I don't leave them out. I'm not a gaudy person. I don't want, it's nice to have someone pat you on the back and say, wow, you did all that. And that's nice, but that wasn't the purpose. The purpose was leaving a lasting impact. So when I was a senior in college, we ended up going to a bowl game. We were undefeated, ended up ranked in the top 25. So fortunately, we won a trophy. Great. Yeah, sweet. You know where that is? It's in a box in my attic right now. But I can open up a book right now of all of the top 25 teams for the last 50 years in football. And I see our name listed, the University of Toledo listed right there. I think we were 25th or 24th. So that's a lasting legacy that I can look there and I can remember how hard I worked to get to that point. As an entrepreneur, I fell on my face many times, but I can look back now and see how far I've come and what kind of impact I've made on all of the people that I've trained in the past nearly 20 years. That's the legacy that I want to leave. And the lasting effects of whether someone's, trying to earn a scholarship as a high school athlete, the legacy to me that I'm leaving them is that they fulfilled their dream. They earned an athletic scholarship, or they lost their 100 pounds. That's nice. That's the trophy. You lost 100 pounds. Now what? Are you going to take what you learned and pass it on? So that's what I feel it's my biggest why as a an athletic or not athletic trainer, but a strength and conditioning coach and a trainer is I want to see someone be successful with what they're initially trying to get to, but leave a lasting impact on their family or their friends, and have my business go down as that company did a lot of good for the people in the community. So it's not about the trophy. It's not about the accolades. It's about helping people.
Right. And I would say, like, there are a few details that are different, but that is my reason for starting my own business and doing this. Like, ultimately how we arrived here today.
Right.
So, so there's that. So just to recap: survival, cooperation, competition, impact. Like, figure out which one is driving you the most right now. Like, what lights the fire the most for you today, right this second, is a big win. And leads into the last little bit here, the objectives. And at the end of the day, it's all about, we know what to do, we know the rules, and we know the why. It's like, now how are we actually going to make this happen? Like, what are the right steps? So getting into this, like, I mean, there's a lot of different, like, they all start with action verbs, like make, save, avoid, escape, attain, protect, achieve, gain, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I could go on for a long time. But the question after that is, like, we keep coming back to the game plan, so we don't just fill our life up with busy work. So we don't get in the habit of, like, I don't know, I'm just doing something. Like,
right. You're doing something just to do something.
Right. So you have to do the right actions consistently over time. And that's what one might call good habits, right? If you do consistently the thing that moves you forward over time, that would be a good habits. And if you consistently do the things that move you away from your goals, those would be what most people would agree upon to be called bad habits.
Bad habits.
So how do you get rid of the bad habits? How do you get more good habits now has become the question. So I have my answer to this, but
you go ahead, man. I've been starting. I want to hear yours.
Okay, I'll go. Okay, here's what I believe on this. So, how to form habits that actually get you the results that you're looking for on autopilot. Those are controlled by the story that's going on in your head that you believe about yourself the most. It's all that they're tied to. So just think back real quick to any game you were in, any competition you were in. I bet that you can tell me the entire story of what went down. Like, you're like, okay, so I walked into this thing, I had a hurt shoulder, right? Like, so my shoulder's hurt coming into this thing. I step in the cage with this guy. I know I can't throw my right arm. Like, I come out, I kick him real good. It's very promising. I hear him kind of, and then he fires back a 1-2, and all of a sudden my vision triples and I have blood running into my eye. And then it's like I have this moment of self-doubt, like right after I got popped, and I got hit hard by this guy. And I was like, dude, you were 100-pound overweight band director last year. What are you doing?
What are you doing in there?
And then I had to, like, in my head, in my mind's eye, like, I can remember it like it was yesterday. I was like, shut up. And then I, like, just came to, like, it came back in, and then it was a slugfest. It was a firefight. I had been beat to hell by the time it was over, but he called a kick. I hit him in the head with a hook while he was still holding my leg, rocked him. He wobbled back. I could see the eyes rolling back in. And I was like, I'm going to do that some more. So I hit him with a cross. He staggered real big, and I smelled the blood. And I was like, I'm coming in. And so I go to throw the same punch. He ducks his head off. I wrap him up into a guillotine and finish the fight, and I win. And then the referee raises my hand, and it was about that time where I was like, that's it, you know?
Right.
So it's like, and then I spent the next 3 weeks with a concussion pretty much, and my vision stayed tripled that entire time. I thought I had a detached retina, blah, blah, blah. It's like, whatever that game is for you, you have that story where you can tell it just as detailed, blah, blah, blah. But whenever I tell that story, I think about like the sacrifice, the focus, the consistency that it took to be able to get in that spot. Just knowing that, like, I had to tell 100-pound overweight fat Marty to shut up, and I had to let the werewolf proverbially step in right here and do its thing. That right there, like the story of being able to go back into your competitive years and becoming that person again, that's what's going to make you take the actions that move you forward, thus creating the habits. That is how the story that you're telling yourself about yourself right now determines what actions you're going to take today, tomorrow, and moving forward. So with that,
yeah, I would actually kind of add to that, not your mixed martial arts stuff. I don't do that stuff. I don't like to get hit in the face. I could take a punch, but I don't like to get hit in the face.
I don't like it so much either.
You know, I think to take it, you know, one step either further or in the same line, this is, to me, it's about discipline. I was raised in a nice home environment where, fortunately, my dad taught me about the value of discipline and the value of doing what you say you're going to do. Have I made mistakes? Absolutely, I've made mistakes. I've gotten undisciplined. But it seems like every time I come back to a disciplined situation, and I'm kind of hard on myself to say, you know, don't let yourself get away with something that you know is undisciplined. It seems to always have a positive impact on me, whether it's a, you know, increased amount of clients that come in, or if it's, you know, I've developed another business strategy, or, you know, I feel more confident because I'm working out more. To me, the statement of the habits stems from being disciplined. You know, people get out of the habit of making their bed. When you're a kid, you know, I think I probably can speak for a lot of people out there, is your mom and you know, your mom and possibly your mom and dad, or your dad and possibly your dad and mom were saying, when you get up, make your bed. It's not that they wanted to see a nice bed. It's they wanted you to be disciplined. And we talked about this prior to doing these rounds. Maybe I talked about it in round one. I don't remember, but it was a book I read called Make Your Bed. And I'm not certain who the author was. It just was recently that I did it, but he was a retired general, I think out of the Navy. And
Admiral.
It was an admiral. Was he admiral?
It had to be if it's Navy.
Oh no, I'm saying, yeah, not general. Yeah, admiral. I'm sorry. Yeah. I can't remember what armed forces, but in any case, it's called Make Your Bed. Great book, and it's not about making your bed. It's about having success doing something right away, and having discipline to do that. You know, if you're setting your alarm for 6 a.m. and you snooze it several times, you've already become undisciplined. And that's the way your day starts. And typically that's the way your day is going to proceed. And typically that's the way your day is going to end. How do you break that cycle? Well, that's the discipline that you have to create. It's the model that you have to follow. When y'all were playing your sport, if you were disciplined to go to practice, you were disciplined to go to the games, you were disciplined to do the things outside of the athletic endeavor that made you a better player. In your professional career, you get up in the morning and you should go to work. You should do the things that you're required to do. But I think we just get lazy as we get to be adults, or busy, where we're doing busy work and we don't stay disciplined to the tasks at hand. So, I think it's just semantics here, habits versus discipline. I think they work hand in hand. So, that's in the stories that I could present to you are multiple, but the one about make your bed has helped me tremendously just in the last couple of years. I mean, I get up, first thing I do when I get up, is make the bed. And I've started the day out right. When I come home to a nice bed. I don't have to, fix the sheets and do all that stuff before I go to bed. I mean, that's not time consuming, but it's, you look at an unkept bed and you're like, oh man, I feel undisciplined. At least I do. My closet, the same thing. Like if I have a mess in the closet, I feel undisciplined. It's not that I'm a messy person. It's just that I wasn't disciplined to hang this up or hang that up. That's really for me, what it boils down to is staying disciplined in your career, staying disciplined in your relationships, and staying disciplined with your whatever situation you're in.
So special bonus, live action, what I was talking about, Brent did the example. I recap what just happened for those paying attention. Why is Brent disciplined? Because he says he is. Why does he say that he's disciplined? Because his story is, I grew up, my father made sure that I was disciplined. And
right, sure, yeah.
Like that is his story. That's why he continuously takes the action of being disciplined.
Right.
Right. So you see
now, and absolutely. And I think I can speak for you and I can speak for others. We're not perfect. Have I not made my bed once in the last couple of years? Absolutely. But I know I was undisciplined. When I left the house, I was like, man, I should have made the bed. Or every time I get done training people, I have to clean up. Do I clean up every time I leave? Not all the time. I'll just do this tomorrow morning. Well, I'm sure we all heard that before. I'll do this later. I'll get it done later. But when you constantly are doing something to enhance your discipline, if you didn't do that, you wouldn't be asking, or I wouldn't have been asking myself in the car, why didn't I make my bed? Why didn't I clean up the gym? Now I have to do it tomorrow morning. So it actually, that rule that I follow has become a positive because it's made me a better person. Making your bed isn't hard. Yeah, you pull the covers up, put the pillows on, and make it look nice. It looks nice, but that whole, just the process of doing that has made me more disciplined in everything else that I do. Yeah. So it's like this big domino effect. And the more disciplined you are, the more things you can get accomplished. The more things you can get accomplished, the better overall your health, wealth, and relationships will be. It's just that simple.
Absolutely. So let's wrap this up and take it home.
Wrap it up.
All right. So we talked about why you should reawaken your competitive spirit in a healthy way. And we tossed back and forth and gave a few examples of what some unhealthy ways are, but those are, I'm assuming, fairly obvious to you because most people are great at detecting problems, but they refuse to move on from the problems to, okay, here are possible solutions. Like that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Anyway, we talked about the 4 essential elements of any game. And then we talked about how to form habits that get you results on autopilot. So that is it for this week. Next week, we're going to talk about how to redefine your why. Because if at this point you understand how to make a game plan, you feel like you have your health and fitness and nutrition, you feel physically supported, like you're actually physically supporting your body that you're going around, and you're like, dude, I have a great mindset. Like I don't break easy, et cetera, but something's still missing. Next week is going to be for you. Next week, we're going to be talking about the secrets to feeling alive and on fire and on purpose with the system that guarantees fulfillment. Today, we were like the system that guarantees achievement. Next time, we're going to the system that guarantees fulfillment. So,
yeah, these 2 parts are I think are 2 of the most important, well, aside from the game plan, but these are really going to enhance the quality of life for the individuals listening.
I mean, both Brent and I, whenever we originally got together on this is where we wanted to start. Like we
Yep.
wanted to start with mindset and follow it up very quickly with fulfillment and spirituality and stuff like that, because we know that that's like where the secret sauce, the true thing that you're looking for is. The thing is, a lot of people come in and they're like, well, maybe if I lose the 20 pounds first, maybe if I fix my marriage first, maybe if I whatever it is.
Yeah.
So
It's all your mindset. I mean, that's it. If Henry Ford, what was the quote from Henry Ford? If you believe you can do it, then it'll happen. If you don't believe you can do it, then it won't happen.
right.
We'll get that quote right next time we see each other. But that's it. That's the mindset. Henry Ford was talking about his mindset. Believe it to achieve it. If you don't believe it, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah. All right. That's a good place to call it.
Good. Marty. Aye for now, brother.
See you in round 4.